We have public comment sign up sheet. I'll repeat the rules that I said earlier. So if you're representing a single person, you have 3 minutes. At 30 seconds, a sign will be flashed up. When your time has elapsed, stop. Please address the whole board and not single people. Keep it civil. And we would prefer the same subject not be repeated over and over again, but I feel we aren't going to have this problem today. Mr. McCann is our first person, and if you will state your name and address prior to addressing the board. Yes, you sure can. You're getting dragged along. You're feeling...
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Edward William McCann Sr. I currently reside at 94 Marcelli Road, Masseyville, Virginia, zip code 22967. I wanted to be here today to put in public input into the 2 decisions this board had to make regarding Second Amendment sanctuary, to support the opposition, the election that will be taking place on the 21st. And from what my understanding is, and I apologize ahead of time if I misunderstood, you've already made a decision on that. But I just want to publicly go on record for thanking you for taking time and energy and caring enough about this county to address those issues. And, I wasn't here, so I can't tell you how civil it was, but I don't see anybody with wounds or damages. But thank you for what you're doing for our county. Being in the leadership position today is not easy. You take a lot of hits, often you shouldn't have to take. And I just want to make sure you understand my wife and I appreciate what you're doing. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Stephen Bain.
Steve Bain, 620 Farnop Climb, Nelliesford. Board of Supervisors, please do not settle for a real estate tax rate, advertised rate of 57 cents. As you know, a rate of 57 cents results in a 16% increase to real estate tax dollars compared to 50 cents, which would result in a 0% increase. There are many ways to get to or very close to a real estate tax rate of 50 cents. I suggest that regional agencies, while needed, are allocating a level of their indirect overhead cost to Nelson County, which is too high given the size of our county and demographics, particularly compared to Albemarle, Charlottesville, and the other member counties. Every department must challenge themselves to only request what is really necessary, critically necessary, both operating and capital. The school system must tighten its belt significantly in light of continuing enrollment decline. The schools also, I think, desperately need long-term strategic planning in conjunction with the Board of Supervisors with regular communication. An admissions tax is an option, certainly, and it is superior and preferable to any material increase in residents' real estate taxes. County staff certainly can and should provide multiple scenarios, what ifs, to support your decision making. I've met many generational families in Nelson County recently, and I know that they expect your help to protect their affordability. Please do everything you can to achieve and advertise a real estate tax rate as close to 50 cents as possible. I look forward to tomorrow's work session. Thank you.
Clay Stewart.
Good evening, Chair Ligon and members of the board. My name is Clay Stewart. I live at 1073 South Piles Allen Road, and I live in the South District, as so. I am here to respectfully urge the board to reconsider Resolution R2026-18. The upcoming referendum on April 21st is a fundamental opportunity for the citizens of Virginia to have a direct voice in our electoral process. By attempting to formally oppose this measure before the voters have had their say, this board is essentially telling the public that their opinion and their vote is less important than the board's own policy preferences. Regardless of how one feels about the specific mechanics of the proposed amendment, the beauty of our democracy is that people, not the board, get to decide whether to change our Constitution. I ask that you trust the voters of Nelson County, or a very purple state, or county, I should say, to make their own informed decision at the ballot box next month, rather than attempting to influence the outcome through this resolution. That's all I have to say about that point. I would also like to point out and have clarification. I would also like to draw your attention to the fact that the notice of today's vote on R 2026-18 was posted on public at 5 p.m. on Friday under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, which controls and governs how public hearings such as board of supervisors are handled and must operate, has requirements to meet this. It is a 3-day rule, as I'm sure you know. Public notice on a regular meeting must be posted at least 3 working days by law prior to a meeting. The day of the meeting does not count by law. And one of those 3 working days, the day that was posted, even at 5:30 p.m. on Friday, does count. But in essence, for this meeting, and it concerns me, not just for this one issue I'm talking about, but for all issues, that my attorney or other attorneys could kill what you do simply because that is not meeting the 3-day rule. Thursday needs to be the day that you release your agendas. Thank you very much. And thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you. All right. That is the end of all the people that have signed up. Is there anyone else that here would like to address the board public comments? Okay. I'm going to end public comment. Public hearing. Proposed ordinance 2026-01, amendment to chapter 2, article 3, section 2-74, declaration of local emergency.
Okay, last month, the board authorized a public hearing on ordinance 2026-01. This ordinance is an amendment of the Code of Nelson County, Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-74A, Declaration of Local Emergency. Our state statutory authority is Section 44-146.21 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended. The proposed ordinance is to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Emergency Services, Division 1, Section 2-74, Declaration of Local Emergency. These proposed amendments to 2-74A would align the county code with the Code of Virginia's statute 44-146.21, allowing the Board of Supervisors to confirm a local emergency declaration at its next regularly scheduled meeting or at a special meeting within 45 days of the declaration, whichever occurs first. If adopted, ordinance 2026-01 will be effective immediately. And this is where this shows the change in the language of the ordinance. Instead of having the entire Board of Supervisors at a special meeting within 5 days of the declaration, the board could at its next regularly scheduled meeting or at a special meeting within 45 days of the declaration, whichever occurs first. This is a copy of the actual ordinance. Okay, and happy to answer any questions if you have them. If not, next you would conduct a public hearing and then consider adoption of ordinance 2026-01.
All right. We're going to open public hearing. We have no one signed up for the public hearing. Does anyone here present like to speak on the subject? Hearing nothing, I'm going to close public hearing.
All right.
Madam Chair, I move, if you're ready.
I am ready.
Madam Chair, I move we approve 2026-01 Amendment of Code of Nelson County, Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-74A, Declaration of Local Emergency, amended as presented.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, now the fun begins. The budget work session. What do you want to start with?
Well, we do not have any, specific follow-up to our March 4th work session.
Okay.
That's an item A, so we could go straight to.
Agency.
Agency review, we have MACA and also the Blue Ridge Health District here.
Excellent. We'll do MACA first.
Information packets for you and little,
You're welcome.
information thing.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, my name is Suzanne Bowers, I'm the new Executive Director of MACA. What you have in front of you are, on the left-hand side, this is something you can just, it's informational for you, but that's not what I'm here to talk about, because this is the information, back in October, we had to submit our proposal for the upcoming year, and what we were asking for funding for. Since then, the things on your left-hand side, that is for the after-school program. We are removing that from our ask. We have spoken with Parks and Rec and with Dr. Hester many times, and we want to make sure that the families of Nelson County are effectively served, and I don't feel that MACA is doing that. We have had many issues with getting students signed up, getting staff for both localities, and right now MACA is spending about $1,200 a month out of our reserve funds just to keep the Tie River and Rockfish programs going. So we spoke with Parks and Rec back in December, and they seem to think that that is something that they were interested in and something that they can do well. The difference is Parks and Rec does not have the licensure requirements that we have. MACA has much stricter licensure requirements. So at that point, we did contact the finance department and said, just a heads up, we think we're going to relinquish that part of the program. And she said that she would let us know how to adjust that finance. We've also worked with Parks and Rec. We've even given them copies of our financials so that they can adequately plan for taking over that program. I don't speak for them, so I don't know that they definitely are taking over for that, but that is something that was in our paperwork since we had to do it so far ahead of time that we will be pulling. So that's the information on the left. The information on the right, with our flyer and my business card, I've attached two reports. One is Project Discovery, which is the program that Tania here manages, and then Community Services. And Community Services, I'll speak on that, and then Tania can speak on hers. As from July 1, which is the start of our fiscal year, through February 26th, when I prepared this report, we have served under our community services program 98 participants in 44 households in Nelson County. We collect all this data on them, but a large amount of it is people calling us, they're in a bind, they can't pay their electric, they can't pay their rent, they need help with transportation, that kind of thing. And so we have served those families. And I became aware that that possibly the board did not know that we were doing all this in Nelson County. With that, this current year, we asked for $20,000 for those emergency services, and we received it. We thank you for that. We're asking for the same amount for the next year. That starts July 1. But you can see on the back of that report, we do things like case management, we help with home repairs, emergency things, job coaching. We do a whole wraparound program with them. But 100% of the funds for both programs that come from the Board of Supervisors in Nelson County goes back to Nelson County. And we are here for emergency services. We're here on Thursdays, every Thursday at the Heritage Center from 10 to 2, so people can walk in and we can help them. Or if it's a different day, we can help them over the phone and people will text in their bills. We can get it all processed. They don't have to wait till Thursday, but if they'd like the one-on-one with a case manager, they can come in on Thursdays. And Tania does our project discovery. Are y'all aware of Project Discovery out here? Okay. Go ahead.
Excuse me, good evening, everyone. I guess this is not me. My name is Tania Dow, and I'm the director of MACA Project Discovery. And let me start off by saying that I absolutely love what I do. We have some great people in the county that just need a little bit of extra guidance, and we provide that guidance for them. So this program helps to prepare them for life after high school. We are generally pushing our students to attend college, but also understanding that college is not for everybody. So therefore, if they are not in a desire or in their path to go to college, we do help set them up with some type of career certificate or career path so they can be successful. We do meet at Nelson County High School. We work very closely with the guidance department and the front office staff. They provide space for us each month. We cover in our monthly sessions, college and career readiness, along with a little bit of social and emotional support. We are finding that we are getting kids to college, but they're having issues matriculating, not just in the classroom, but with just their emotional intelligence. So we try to give them comprehensive services. We are also required by our contract with Project Discovery of Virginia Incorporated to also provide extracurricular activities for the students. The best part about our program is that students come to us who are first generation and or low income, so all of our services are free to them. We remove the financial barrier, so all they have to do is show up. We also provide services to their parents as well. We try to do whole family institution where families also get, I don't want to say counseling, but we have work sessions where they can learn about financing, budgeting. And because our students are first generation, we help to prepare the parents on what to expect and how to support their students moving forward. We do meet typically the second Thursday of each month. I'll be there this Thursday and always look forward to it. We always have a hearty welcome when I get there. And right now we do not have the numbers that we are looking for, but in conjunction with the guidance department, we're currently at 8 and numbers are growing. So I do appreciate the support you have given us and look forward to your continued support. Does anybody have any questions about Project Discovery?
When you say first generation, do you mean first generation Americans or first generation going to secondary education?
First generation going to secondary
Gotcha.
education. So that means that your father or your mother or your current parent or guardian has not received any 2 or 4 year, any education, any post-education since high school.
And you said you work with guidance. Does that include coordinating scholarships that might be available through the school system?
Absolutely. So me and the guidance secretary work hand in hand. She knows that I also come in with our seniors and do one-on-one stuff to help them actually apply to college and to help them look for scholarships. So she actually sends them directly to me. So that way when I come, I'm already abreast on the scholarships that are available. And based on what the students are interested in going to school for or learning anything post-secondary, I can help best match them.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
So we just ask that, that we continue to get support for those two projects, the project discovery and emergency services. Again, for both programs, 100% of that stays in Nelson County.
And then one last thing, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut her off, but we also provide college campus visits to our students. One of the things is a lot of people talking about going to college, but they've never set foot on a college campus, so they don't know what to expect, they don't know the atmosphere. And we take them on local college campus visits and then some out of the area so they can compare and contrast and find which best fits them.
Ms. Bowers, question, on the community services side.
Yes.
Is this coordinated at all with our social services?
Yeah,
or
100%.
Department of Social, okay.
Yes, yes. we
I was,
work-
I was thinking there had to be overlap and,
Yep, we work with them very closely. And if we can't serve somebody or we can't serve them enough, like we have a cap on our funding, we will contact on their behalf, because we do case management, contact on their behalf other agencies and say, if we can put in $100 for this bill, can you put in 100? And then, we know who to go to. And then we also do that wraparound services. So we do give resources, for people, and we help them get benefits if that's what they need.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question about, just for clarification?
Yep.
On your request for the Family and Community Services Program?
Yes,
Can you clarify, are you asking for 20,000 or 25,000? Because it's,
20,000.
okay, one sheet shows 25 and another shows 20 for 27. So I just want to make sure we have the right request.
I mean, if you want to give us 20,000, we're good with that too.
Okay.
And I thank you, and if you ever are needing more information or want an update, financials, anything like that, just let me know. I'm happy to come out.
So feel free to come join us. We're at Nelson County High School at 9:37, the second Thursday of every month.
Thank you.
So in total, 30,000 for both programs?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Lee?
I was just fascinated that they got cut off by other localities as well.
On program 1 and 2. I think 3 as well.
Okay. Let's see, Ryan McKay, you're up. Blue Ridge Health District.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a little bit of an overview of our budget request for the upcoming year. I do have a one-page supplement. I can give that to you now, or I can pass it off to Ms. McGarrett for the to review later. I will just say some key takeaways and what we're looking at, and give you the bottom line up front. So our total request for this year is $400,138. We are seeking $24,618 increase over last year, or current year funding, our 526 allocation. And what I'd like to do is just break that down into 3 categories of what we'd like to use that money for. So the first part is really strategic investment in workforce through Nelson County, the health department, but then also all of the staff that support Nelson in ancillary ways. So consider myself, I'm funded by all the localities, because I serve all those localities. Other examples of where we have sort of centralized staff that support, Nelson County. On the environmental health side, we have our environmental health supervisor who deals with the on-site program, well and sewage. We have a technical specialist who also supports that program. We have similar positions across all of our services. While they are located in Charlottesville, on a day-to-day basis, they do provide direct support. And so, for the workforce, there's projected 3% salary increase coming through the General Assembly. We have heard both 2 and 3%. I've included 3% in this budget request so that I don't have to come back to you in the fall if I asked for 2 and then all of a sudden it's 3. So we can adjust as the year goes to determine what that actually looks like. On the state side, this is about a $13,000 contribution towards the overall 3% increase. And so between all of the localities and the state funding increase, that would fill whatever expenditure needs are there for the 3% salary increase, which would also include our fringe benefits. The other 2 things that we're looking at to address are very much specific to positions. Further in the document, I'll explain a little bit about what we've lost over the last 3 fiscal years, but we are trying to stabilize federally funded positions. We have experienced over the last year a significant cut to a number of our grants. One, which was a $2.9 million grant that was intended for community health workers and some of our epidemiologists who do a lot of the casework in support of disease prevention, disease control, and risk mitigation. The first position here is a disease investigation specialist. This individual, this is the only one we have in the district, is specific for HIV and sexually transmitted infection response. This individual identifies the person that's tested positive, they make contact, they work very closely with that individual, one, to connect that individual to care and treatment, whether that's through us locally or through UVA, Centera, or a primary care provider. That person also has to go through the delicate conversation of identifying close contacts. Who are the individuals that person has come in contact with? What is their risk for being exposed to HIV or syphilis or other STIs? And then also identifying ways and pathways for testing and treatment. This is an incredibly difficult position to fill. This is a position that requires a very specific skill set to allow individuals to not feel like there is stigma involved with this. So that position is at risk for losing all of its federal funding. We've already lost some of it in FY26, and we're looking to stabilize that funding for FY27 and beyond. The other position that we're looking at is our senior epidemiologist. So our disease investigation specialist reports to this person. This person is our expert in disease control, disease investigations, whether that's school-based, so think pertussis or whooping cough, flu outbreaks within long-term care facilities, or norovirus within different facilities. I think, of course, obviously, if a pandemic or an epidemic were to roll around, this is the person I would rely on most to give me the factual information about what the community is experiencing based on the data and what we need to do to protect people from getting sick. So between those 3 things, that's what we would like to do to fund for our funding request in FY27. On the back page, I'll give you a little bit more information. So I wanted to break this down in terms of the local only funding for those 2 positions by locality. What would Nelson's contribution be in comparison to all of the other localities in our district? This is proportion based, obviously, so the bulk of this funding for these 2 positions would come from Albemarle County, Charlottesville, and Louisa, which makes sense. They're our most populated localities. They also have larger budgets, but then for Fluvanna, Greene, and Nelson, this would be the breakdown of what their contributions are to give you a sense of what is Nelson contributing in this request and what we would expect from our other localities. I will say Albemarle, Charlottesville, Fluvanna, and Louisa, their finance committees and their administrators or city manager have recommended these increases for these specific positions. So we are at least at the governmental level, not the elected official level yet, getting commitment from those localities. I have not received word yet from Greene on that. If we were not to get this funding, we would have to make hard choices about where we make cuts to other parts of our budget. Largely, that's going to be not filling other vacancies, so that we can use those cost savings to fulfill this particular position, 2 positions. And that's risk-based. What are the things that present the greatest risk to our community? What is the resource that we can't actually get or maintain if we don't have this funding? And so we're having to prioritize based on risk and need, and what type of work needs to be done for these individuals who may have been exposed or tested positive to those diseases. Below that, the need for funding and why is this coming up now? So in FY25, we lost Ryan White funding, which is specific to HIV case management, access to treatment, to care, and some testing. In FY25, we also lost $60,000 for HIV testing, community HIV testing. So these are position-based. We've incorporated test kits, the cost for doing the labs for people who don't have insurance. We incorporate that into our operating budget. Last year, we lost $22,500 for the disease investigation specialist, which is why we're trying to shore things up, because we do project that we will continue to lose those funds in the next year. And again, additional $90,000. We have asked the state for what we call a shift in funding for about 20%, roughly $21,000. I do not anticipate getting that shift. If we do, we can adjust the amount that we would ask the locality to contribute to later on. So as far as the process goes, none of this lines up. Our state budget and our state allocation doesn't typically come until August or September. You all make your decisions much faster than the state does. And so we would adjust our local government agreement. So it outlines what the state is going to pay, what the locality is going to pay, and we can make adjustments down the road. So if you were to allocate all of this funding to us now, but we don't need it in the next fiscal year, we can make an adjustment to what actually Nelson County needs to send us. So there's wiggle room if these things don't actually come to fruition.
What, did you have these jobs before these grants
We
existed?
currently have the jobs.
No, I meant before the grants existed.
The grants have existed long before my time. So the FEP grant, which is a public health emergency preparedness grant, that funds the district epidemiologist, senior epidemiologist. That grant has existed since I think 2003 or 2004. The design of that grant was in response to the anthrax attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C., understanding that local health departments didn't have the funding for epidemiologists. And so that was a way to bolster our local response. The DIS funding has been around for at least a decade, if not longer. And what we've seen over the course of the last 2 to 3 years is a gradual decline in the amount of funding the federal government is going to give to states. Obviously, this puts the states and local governments in a really difficult position of having to make choices around how to fund these things, these positions and these activities. I find these as priorities for us. Epidemiology, disease surveillance, HIV and STI prevention, and risk mitigation is core to one of the things that we have to do. And so we're making some difficult choices about how we fund these positions. We have, I think it's 25 different positions that are either in whole or in part funded by federal grants. Some of them I'm not worried about. There's no risk to it. Women, Infant, and Children program, that funding is not going away. In fact, we've been getting increasingly more money each year to support that. But there are other areas. Family planning, which supports our nurse practitioner and one of our nurses, is something that we're projecting will get cut each year, but we are able to navigate those cuts. The ones that we can't really navigate.
So if the state is unwilling to fund it, that is essentially them saying that it's not a worthy job. Why should we feel it's worthy if the state doesn't?
Fair question. I don't know that the state feels that way. I think the state feels that they have to make difficult choices across the board for all of these grants. And so there are things that they have to consider at the central office. There are whole positions that are potentially at risk of being cut. For us, we feel like we cannot proactively support the community when it comes to disease outbreaks if we do not stabilize these funding streams. Or we have to cut in other places. That might be nurses, that might be environmental health specialists, and maybe some program positions that do more data analysis, long-term strategic planning. So I don't know that the state doesn't want to fund these positions. I think what the state is finding, it's more and more difficult to make tough choices when federal grants are being cut. And it's not just public health that's being cut, it's grants across the board that are being cut. And that's over many years. It's not, the last 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. It's just what we're seeing in a shift. And so the state overall has to make these decisions. VDH as a state agency have to weigh the pros and cons of all these decisions, which in turn means we at the local level have to weigh the pros and cons of these decisions. And if I don't get the money or we don't get the increases needed, we will cut in other ways.
Like what?
We would cut vacant PH positions, we would cut vacant nursing positions, or office support staff. We would have to reduce or cut our discretionary spending, travel, training, individuals going and getting their certifications. We would have to pick and choose which ones can go based on the volume of work that they do. So we game plan this on a quarterly basis based on what we're hearing. We did a game planning session around the potential for the actual federal shutdown back in November of which positions are the most critical, which positions would we fund. And so in these efforts, we're trying to stabilize that as much as possible, so we're not scrambling at the last minute to make some really hard choices. Last March, when we lost that $2.9 million, we had to let 14 people go overnight. We found out on March 25th, we had to let them go on March 26th. That money was gone. I don't want to be in that position again. One, it hurts the community. It does not allow us to do our job effectively and support health needs of the community. Two, we're talking about people, human beings, 14 people, their livelihood gone overnight. I'm trying to do the best I can to support our community through stable funding and also maintain livelihood for the people that do the hard work of public health day in and day out. And so we will have to make hard choices with the resources that we have.
These numbers based on need and how you would support our community. We have the lowest population of this whole group, but we're paying the same as Louisa, Green, and Fluvanna. Well, not Louisa.
So it's not just based on population, some of it's based on the actual case rates. I don't have that data in front of me, but we are trying to level out as much as we can the costs that come with this. Again, this is a budget request. If you feel like 9,000 and 6,000 to support these two positions is too much at this time, we can look at multi-year. I would look at other ways of supporting those if it's a reduced number, or if it's zero for these positions, we would have to look elsewhere to find that funding. But I'm committed to supporting these two individuals because of what they do for our community. What we've also seen, and I'll give you an example here. So we have seen a 64% increase both in HIV diagnoses in 2025 and syphilis cases in FY25 compared to FY24. And so part of what we're doing is already adjusting resources to accommodate for that. So with the loss of the $72,000, the $60,000, we have trained staff that are currently on board to do rapid testing in our community. We're adjusting some additional resources to increase STI clinics. So last year we hired a second nurse practitioner so that we can increase the number of clinics that we're offering in all of our localities. So it's essentially doubling our capacity to do that. We've hired a specialized nurse who spends a lot of time in Nelson to do our traditional public health, but also to focus on community health, which these STIs and HIV is part of that approach. The other thing that we're doing is reallocating resources. This is a little bit different, but we came to you in October and November to give you an update on our community health assessment. We have reallocated a position to hire a community health worker, which is a position we lost last year due to those funding cuts. That individual will partner with our nurse and other clinical staff to be out in the community, to go into areas where we did the door-to-door surveying so that we can identify those, not only those needs, but how do we support them? And that's how we're adjusting some of our resources to support Nelson County. Aside from that, though, we are looking at how we would make adjustments, and we have made adjustments for these costs to increase or maintain some capacity around testing and case management. And we're just at a point now where we can't really move things around position-wise. We just need to make sure that we can stabilize these two positions as we move forward.
Anybody else have any questions?
They gonna cut vacant positions?
Hmm?
Cut vacant positions, is that what you said?
We would just take the funding from those positions and allocate it towards where these two positions are. So the position would exist, but we would have to over time build up the funding to support those positions. And what I can do over time is I can continue to update Ms. Mayberry over where we are with the status of these grants and what funding we may or may not get from the state. And then I can also, if we need to down the road, I can provide some updates on where we are with adjusting funding for other positions and other programs to support these needs. If I had to choose one position to get funding for over the other, it would be a difficult choice, but I would choose the disease investigation specialist.
Again, I just want to publicly thank, I get to interact with these guys in the construction world, and Josh and Jonathan. I want to thank them, and Libby and the support staff in there. They do a good job, and I know I can speak for the home building community. We just appreciate the open correspondence and how interactions with soil and water are always changing. We understand that, sometimes not to our, sometimes to our detriment, but we want to just thank you in that regard. We'll definitely take this under consideration as we go through the budget.
All right, I appreciate that. I will share that with Mr. Kirtley and the
Please.
team back in Nelson and Charlottesville. Thank you all for your time and your consideration, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else we're doing?
All right, drum roll. Admission tax discussion.
Provided a bunch of information for you all to look at in your packet regarding the admissions tax. We have just a draft ordinance Mr. Payne put together in February. We are allowed under state code to implement an admissions tax, including participatory sports, which wasn't always the case, but now is. And I guess the purpose of the discussion was to get the board's feedback on any type of parameters you would like to see in a potential draft ordinance, if you're still interested in considering this, as a revenue enhancement at this time. So just really want to get your feedback on what direction you'd like to see it go in.
Candy, I'd like to see that from the 2,000 attendees daily over multiple consecutive days. I'd like to see a 2,000 cut down to 100.
I'd say that, open up discussion with your board members here.
Yeah.
You gonna tax my birthday party?
Do you know 100 people?
No, will
Today we
100 people
did.
show up?
Today we did.
That was free.
That's true.
So, so what does that range look like? Do you have any idea across the, across the other counties that you provided information for? I mean, is there any?
Let's see.
The definitions of what qualifies and what doesn't is probably the only thing is kind of missing from that counties. We have the rates that they charge.
As far as what qualifies for the tax.
Right.
Let's see, look through my stuff and find that whole piece. 17. Okay, do have that.
Under the exclusion, I'd like to see D erased off of there. I think it's a huge benefit to us.
All right, well, I apologize, I don't have the code section, I need 3817. That's in there. Wait, here it is, sorry. It is here, yep, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, so the classification of events to which admission is charged can be admissions charged for attendance at any event, the gross receipts of which go wholly to charitable purposes. Um, Admissions charge for attendance at public and private elementary, secondary, and college school-sponsored events, including events sponsored by school-recognized student organizations. Admissions charge for entry into museums, botanical or similar gardens and zoos. Admissions charge to participants in order to participate in sporting events. Admissions charge for entry into Major League Baseball games and events at any Major League Baseball stadium, which has seating for at least 40,000 persons, and all other admissions. So there's quite a wide range of things you can apply the admissions tax to. In the draft ordinance provided from Mr. Payne in February, he has basically excluded admissions charge for attendance of any nonprofit event, gross receipts of which go to wholly charitable purposes. Admissions charge for attendance at public or private elementary, secondary, college-sponsored events, including events sponsored by school-recognized organizations. Admissions charged of $1 or less, or admissions charged to participants in order to participate in sporting events such as skating, skiing, and racing.
I think the question is more about section 11-195, where it says projecting more than 2,000 attendees daily. I was wondering if there's any variation on that number, allowable.
It could be whatever you want, I do believe. I don't think there's any limitation
Okay.
to that particular thing.
Some of the ones that you specified mentioned 2,000, probably that's why we have it, but I was just curious if that could be negotiated.
Well, like
so
New
to speak.
Kent's 300.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I thought there was more than that.
There are a few that are 2,000, and then weekends 300.
I really, as we discuss this, and of course, we don't have any dollar cent expectation of what a percentage equals on what we're taxing. I do think it'd be valuable, though, and I think it would be a good discussion that board members create. Remember, Ernie, when we did the transient occupancy tax and before we increased it, we had it committed. I think there's some value there because it allows a couple board members to design it. Cameron, we can put you on that sucker, okay? Interact with the EDA and the stakeholders, and Ernie can attest to this. When we met with the stakeholders, very productive meeting, and we realized we had a lot of flaws.
Mhm.
And we were able to fine tune that, and when the time came to be able to vote on the emissions tax, we weren't dealing with a bunch of nuances and realizing how bad of an enforcement issue we have, if that makes sense. And there may be a piece of that where we need to figure that out as well, how do we enforce a 300-person event? Are people just gonna go and throw it, right?
Right, I think that, yeah, we'd have to discuss a lot of the logistics of whatever the
Whatever
parameters
those,
dictate.
because I think the enforcement is one of the important aspects to some of these things. And if enforcement is not figured out before you do it, you will just have a few people doing it and a lot of people not. And that would also, this would fall under Commissioner of Revenue,
Yes.
right? So we really need to get the Commissioner of Revenue in on this discussion so she could say what methodology she's gonna use to be able to enforce this. I do agree that as we look at, taxation of all the ones, always a consumption tax is always better than all of them, but doing a tax just to do a tax, we have to have it methodically figured out. So my suggestion to the board is that a committee of a couple board members, Cameron, you're hot to trot on it, so I think you need to be on it. And Ernie, this may impact your district, or Jessica, whoever else. I don't really have that many admission venues other than Rapunzel's.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of design what that should potentially look like, meet with stakeholders, Commissioner of Revenue, and have a long, productive conversation about it. And I think that, because from the point me and Ernie started doing that, the stakeholder meetings, it took some time. And we had to go back to the Commissioner of Revenue and say, get us software. Do we have that software yet?
Oh, we have it, it's, in the process of being
Got it.
implemented.
So as you can see, implementation sometimes takes,
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah, and am I right, we had a public hearing on this and we tabled it?
Correct, because we learned how much we had wrong. And I think something like this might need a little bit more. If you were gonna consider this, what does it look like? How does it impact the stakeholders? Who is it,
Yeah, community buy-in is always good, and,
businesses matter.
right, that they do, and Wintergreen matters as well.
So,
They're all important things for
Yeah.
our economy and our community.
so what does the board think of that concept? Make a committee and put Ernie and Cameron on it and meet with a myriad of stakeholders with staff.
I would defer to anyone else who really wants to be on it, but otherwise I would.
I have no problem doing that. I would prefer it be probably the chair. Since she's the chair.
I'm gonna get you off the hook, I'll do.
I appreciate
Put
that.
me on.
So,
She has a full-time job,
that's right. So
like
think-
everybody else here.
Yeah, I think you guys can have some really productive conversations with the stakeholders.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Lanahan? Do you
Yeah,
feel
that's
like I'm
fine.
addressing
Yeah.
what you're
We can
looking
do
at? Because
that.
we need to figure out enforcement.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one.
And
And this one here is not from the citizens. That's the big one.
right,
It is from
Sure.
Charlottesville,
Sure.
Richmond, DC, Virginia Beach, people coming here.
Yep.
Well,
Using our facilities.
I'm gonna interject and disagree with you there to an extent. Especially if you should lower the number down to 100. I was thinking going to 2,500 instead of 2,000. But I think what we all need to keep in the forefront of our mind is, why did we go down this path? What opened this door to begin with? Okay, let's not lose sight of the reason we have this conversation was a result of what took place with the Seven Stars Festival and how it impacted our community. It looks like now we're trying to implement a new tax to tax everything that we can get our hands on. And I don't think that was the
No, that's not-
intent,
no.
I think it's a bad idea to tax, the sporting events. I think D has to stay in there. I think we need to expand or put some wording in that it's not just limited to those events, but participatory sports. I just think we need to keep in mind why we went down this path to begin with and not make it even more restrictive. We need to open it up a little, I think.
Right, and it gives us an opportunity to consider strategic planning along with the EDA and tourism and.
Well, it also helps us get closer to that 50 cent mark too, for tax rate.
And see, to me, this isn't about the income that this generates is extra. To me, that's not the angle I'm approaching this from. I'm approaching this from, we have concerns from our citizens about a specific event that was impacting and impacts the community. And we were like, well, if we could offset that with some positive, cash flow as a result, that's where this started. If we start adding this on, if you've got 100 people going to see Jacob Paul Allen at the Barrel House, those people aren't from Charlottesville, Richmond, or DC. Those people are from Tyro and
Well, like I
Roseland.
said, we can manipulate
You know,
those numbers where we have to be.
But, and I don't think we should be discouraging anybody, whether they're from Richmond, Charlottesville, or Livingston, from going up and, going skiing or playing tennis or whatever they're doing, that requires an admission for participatory sports.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
One, I personally have been pro diversification of our revenue since day one. Two, when I go to an event, and the one that pops in my mind is the fall festival at Blue Toad.
all right.
I'm there with 1,000 of my closest friends, and there was only 3 people I recognized. And we have to take that trash to the landfill, which we pay for. We truck that trash. We have to deal with all the road, keeping the roads up and dealing with DUIs and all this stuff. So, all our friends from Crozet who come to the fall festival, they deserve to pay their $1 or $2 per ticket, in my personal opinion. So, the cost for all these events and all these people coming in here, is higher than the TOT, or, you know, like,
Oh,
we have to maintain the look of our beautiful nature and keep our roads clean, and that has a cost. Diversification of revenue.
make a committee, design it, figure out the enforcement mechanism.
But that path is also fair.
I think if we just picked a number, did it, it would be very ineffective. I think we all know what would happen.
How many months does this committee have to return something to us to vote on?
This is a FY 28 issue. I can't see this being part of this year's budget.
Yeah.
I really can't. There's no way. I mean, we're planning our snow routes when it's already started snowing. If we're truly trying to do this, you know, I can't see this happening for this budget year. If we do it right.
And it's gonna take some meetings with the stakeholders. so it should be
And
part
going
of it.
through that TOT situation is a perfect example.
That took how many
of
years?
How
Randy?
much, yeah, of what all popped up in that process. And that was a great process to go through. And
I think Ernie.
So
took
how
2
many
years.
months?
I'm gonna go with 6 months. They should give us a report of some kind
Oh,
of
good lord.
beginning start of interact. It's gonna take them a while to meet with stakeholders, staff, commissioner revenue. I mean, Ernie, I'm not exaggerating when I say with the TO2 related, it took really kind of a year
Yeah, yeah.
to get stakeholders, the commissioner revenue down to design something and figure out how we enforce this.
Yeah, and the pushback from community members when you don't go through that process
It's
is
massive.
never good. It's
It
never
was
good.
It was not a good process.
Yeah.
I'm saying this in understanding there won't be something to look at for 6 months, but can we hear about how it's going?
Oh,
before the
every
6
month,
months
yeah.
thing?
Me and
Okay.
Ernie did that.
Yeah.
I gave a monthly report of the conversations we had.
Yeah.
No, you should be able to get it in board reports,
Yeah.
some kind of step by step. I would lean into our staff and Maureen
Yeah.
to coordinate these meetings.
Okay.
I think they would be the best stakeholders to help tell you who the best stakeholders to
Talk to us.
talk to are, and let them organize that. And I agree, the EPA needs to be brought into this to some degree. I don't think there's any reason not to say, hey, if we do this, what does that mean? Because hopefully Maureen is gonna be the source of dollar cents, right? Like expectations.
Yes, I think she can help a lot with, once you have parameters on what types of events and size,
Yeah.
those types of things, she can tell us what kind of, you
Yeah.
know, how many of those are we aware of?
Right.
What revenue would it generate?
Yeah.
Those types of things.
So would Maureen probably be the staff person that kind of leads
Probably.
this?
I would,
Begrudgingly, but yeah.
I would
Yeah,
imagine
like
so.
she needs something else to do, right?
I would agree with that,
Yeah.
just like she was with TOT.
Yeah.
Would you wanna include, a member of
The
the
EDA,
event community?
you're gonna need.
Well,
Absolutely.
she's gonna make them,
Absolutely.
She needs to kind of give a
she'll
good
fire
list.
someone up.
Yeah,
It needs to be a good list, wintergreen is a whole,
Yeah. Maureen's recommendation on
I was,
who to be part of it would be really important.
Yeah.
okay. All right, I'll talk to her about
and
that.
that's you, Cameron, and Ernie. Lead the train, okay?
Sure.
Not like the one in Afton. We don't want
Yeah.
brush fires.
And if Maureen wants some input for myself or Cameron before she starts on all this, we're happy to do it.
She's gonna love that.
Yeah, she's gonna have a great time with that. And then the commissioner revenue. I think y'all need to meet with
Yeah,
commissioner
yes,
revenue way
absolutely.
sooner than you think.
Absolutely.
Right,
It might be good to meet with them and then open up the parameters of who else is gonna be part of the committee, but have a preliminary meeting with them and just get some.
Yeah.
Baseline to start.
All right, do you just wanna park yourself right there for other business?
Oh yeah, forgot. We have to do that. What? Which one? Oh.
You're gonna put all your stuff up.
I will note that, I was a little mistaken, I think we did have some follow-up for you. We don't need to discuss it now, we could get to it tomorrow if you'd rather, with, from the animal control department on their numbers of transfers.
Can we do that tomorrow?
He went all the way
Yes.
back
Yeah.
to
I just wanted to make sure you
2021.
saw that it was
Yeah.
there,
Thank you.
yes, okay. So, we're on to my report now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just, all right, Reporting on our DSS building project, Coleman Adams is finishing up foundation walls and backfilling, stubbing data pipes and underslab utilities and prep to pour the slab sometime middle of this month. Inclement weather has impeded progress, however, not substantially. Once the slab's ready, Coleman Adams expects the pace of progress to accelerate. PMA and Coleman Adams are working through the power design changes with CVEC, and the building construction work group continues to meet twice per month with the project coordination going well. Let's see, our advisory board members, I think most everyone has completed training, and I think an initial meeting is being planned by Director DeShawn. And she did provide a monthly report for her department on their services data. The Board of Equalization has set and advertised their meeting schedules with dates established on 8 days in the first 2 weeks of March, including 3 evening sessions, and 7 days in May with 3 evening sessions as well. As of March 5th, 2026, the BOE has held 11 hearings, and their dispositions are as follows. They've made 2 changes. They made no changes to 7, and 2 are pending because they requested additional evidence from the appellants, and they're waiting to receive photos from those folks. Another appeal is being reviewed by the lead assessor, Gary Eames, and the BOE needs his guidance before making a final decision. Once the BOE finishes their work, they will provide a formal report to the board. I'd like to give a special thank you to the BOE members, and also Ms. Juliana Piedra from our office for providing her administrative assistance in doing all of the scheduling and administrative work associated with the BOE, in addition to her regular duties in county admin. So I'd just like to thank her for that.
Are there any meetings pending
Are there any? Yes.
with property owners?
Yes, the scheduling's ongoing.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Our transportation tipping floor replacement, we got the bids back. We received 5 sealed bids on March 4th. The bids range from $90,000 to $387,920. Architectural Partners is evaluating the submitted bids in order to provide us with their recommendation for project award. We're actually hoping we might get that either this evening or by tomorrow. We may have the board look at that during our budget work session tomorrow, so we can move that along. Our construction period is expected to be sometime between April 1st and May 31st. We did get at least, I think at least 3 bids that are within our budget, so I think we're in good shape to proceed there. On the Cover the Caboose project, we initially received several quotes for construction that were over $30,000, in which our purchasing policy requires the project to be put out for bids in a formal solicitation. I think we're going to do more of a formal quote solicitation process. So Jerry will be working with the finance department to get this done as soon as possible, and we feel like this method of procurement will establish a set timeline for completion, so it doesn't drag on any further.
So in order to get to that point, don't we have to have some sort of concept of design, or are we just gonna say, hey, build us a shelter and tell us what you think?
Must be a scope of work. Yeah. Right, yeah, we'll provide a scope of work for that. I think there's some idea of what we want. So that will be provided with the solicitation for sure. Okay, next, in mid-February, I attended a meeting at the Regional DEQ office in Harrisonburg to discuss the unauthorized discharges occurring at the Service Authority's new wastewater treatment plant at West Street. Those discharges have been occurring intermittently since last winter and in late December through early February of 26. In addition, Service Authority staff and 2 Service Authority board members were present, along with the wastewater treatment plant project engineer and a host of DEQ central and regional office staff from compliance and finance divisions. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit long. During the meeting, the operational issues with the new plant were discussed, including the various ways that the project engineer and plant operator had attempted to correct the issues and what the short and long-term solutions could be. Resolution to the most immediate short-term issue of eliminating the discharges from the equalization basin was discussed as a primary concern, with the solution of pumping down the EQ basin during peak flows being the most immediate viable option. How to do this with the upcoming membrane cleaning and performance testing while that was being done, was also discussed, given that the EQ basin needed to be full during the testing period. It was discussed that long-term solutions would be predicated on the outcome of the membrane performance testing. It would likely need to take place during the off-season, which is approximately March through November.
How did that testing turn out? Did you ever hear? It was
I
into
haven't-
February.
No, I haven't heard how that turned out. I'm not sure they have actually performed it yet.
I don't believe it has.
Okay. So during March and November is typically when the plant operates without discharges. DEQ asked for the service authority to report back on its evaluation of what they would do under the 3 testing outcomes, which was 1, the testing passed, 2, the testing failed and the plant manufacturer cooperated to fix it, or 3, it failed and the plant manufacturer did not cooperate in fixing it. It was noted that the performance testing was part of certification of substantial completion, of the project. And until the project was substantially complete, the DEQ construction loan could not be closed out. DEQ also asked the service authority to provide them with timelines for short and long-term action items so that they could develop a corrective action plan based on those. It was noted that the discharge is partially treated wastewater, not raw sewage, because most solids making it into the EQ basin were settled at the bottom of the tank. Testing of this discharge had not been done, and service authority agreed to immediately test samples at the point of overflow and several places downstream of the creek, and to provide public notification of the discharges and the results of the testing. The service authority was to continue to provide 24-hour weekly operational reporting to DEQ compliance staff. Following the meeting, the service authority implemented the temporary pump and haul solution. However, some discharge during peak usage times continued due to the inability to haul the discharge to a receiver over the weekends and the wet weather that exacerbated the infill and infiltration at the plant. Service authority provided public notification of the discharge issues and performed the testing, notifying me that the results showed there were no concern for downstream property owners. Then in late February, DEQ staff, Brandon Kirchhoff and Noel Thomas, performed an in-person compliance inspection and observed overflow discharge at the EQ basin while the plant manufacturer was on site performing the membrane cleaning for the performance testing. The DEQ inspection report states that the overflowing wastewater from the EQ basin flows through a culvert under the EQ basin access road into a wooded area. The majority of the wastewater solids observed were dispersed in this wooded area with minimal amount of wastewater reaching the unnamed tributary to the South Fork Rockfish River at the time of inspection. At several locations between the point where the EQ basin overflow enters the unnamed tributary to the area just downstream of the wastewater treatment plant outfall area, small pockets of light settled solids were observed, as well as some minimal solids deposition on leaves in the stream. The South Fork Rockfish River was observed at 4 locations downstream of the point where the unnamed tributary enters the river. No evidence of wastewater solids was observed at any of these locations. The water was running clear with a large rock and gravel bottom. Their corrective action was for the service authority to continue sending daily status updates for the system to include the overflow status information for the EQ basin and details on any pump and haul activities conducted for the same day. Noel Thomas and Brandon Kirchhoff spoke with Matthew Huffman during the inspection. He's the wastewater operator up there at the plant. Aviva, who's the manufacturer of the plant components, was on site and in the process of completing the membrane cleaning for the upcoming membrane reactor testing. And again, my understanding is that there was some delay in performance testing related to less than optimal levels of microorganisms present, which would impact the results. The service authorities advised they'll provide me with an update on the timeline when they know more. So that's what I know as of today.
Well, I was up there Saturday and I walked. Because I saw this right here, it says they noted no evidence of wastewater solids being observed. It's probably 4 inches deep up there in the woods. Not only that, but I took a baggie up there with me. There is women products. There is enough rubber's up there in the creek, you can start your own balloon factory.
Is that after the,
This was Saturday.
okay, so it might have been after they did their inspection. Certainly hope they had gloves on.
I
We
did.
should get Brian McKay back here.
I did. Stop the health department real quick.
I'm sitting beside you.
Boy,
Yeah.
some just keep on blowing up.
And just to make note, as of Friday, Avivo, wasn't ready to start the testing because of some unspecified, which I never really found out what they were, reasons why it wasn't ready to start testing yet. Hopefully that's happening this week, but it's up to Ovivo because they're the ones doing the testing. So it's up to their
That we
officials
pay
in terms
for.
of where it's.
Mhm.
It's a, well, service authority pays for it.
Right, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're waiting, maybe not, we're not waiting now, we're,
Okay. All right.
Keeping on with the theme.
I'll move on to the, Service Authority's Livingston Sewer Rehab Project. I included what I, gave to you last month there in the beginning paragraphs, and the update to that is that the Service Authority Board has authorized the Service Authority to apply for additional USDA RD loan funding in the amount of $1,880,000, which would provide full funding for the first alternative scope, for a total of $4.1 million. A strategy discussed at the staff and engineering level was that the Service Authority could proceed with issuing a project invitation to bid, which included critical items in the base bid and then the remaining as add alternates. And that could be accepted as funding allowed. So as far as I know, that's the plan going forward. The board had inquired about tire amnesty. The last county tire amnesty day was in 2017, and we're having trouble finding specifics on that one. However, it was noted in our minutes that it was held. In July of 2016, there were 2 tire amnesty days with the same 25 tire limit, but for tires 20 inches or less in diameter. There was discussion on having a day for tires up to 25 inches, but it was noted those larger tires were commercial tires, and they became too large and heavy for the staff to maneuver. There was a 2-day amnesty in 2015 on 2 Saturdays, June 20th and 27th, for residents only, no commercial, with a limit of 25 tires per household for tires not exceeding 22 inches in diameter. It was reported at a following meeting that 17 tons of tires were collected, and it cost the county about $1,800 to dispose of them. We might be able to use DEQ litter funds to cover the cost of a tire amnesty, and the authority to do this is in section 10-19 of the county solid waste ordinance, which provides this authority. So just advise
I think it was like
staff
$3 or
if you'd
$4
like to
time.
author's something for 2026 and
That's what we're paying.
when you'd like to do that. We would need a little bit of lead time just to get the trailers set up and everything for that.
I
So,
think this is a very affordable way to get rid of a lot of pollution. I mean, just speaking from a myriad of places that I know where there's a lot of tires. I think this is a wonderful, and not really that, we don't even have to go get them. People just need to bring them. My only concern would be, how do we prove they're a Nelson County resident, right? That would be, ideally, they'd be Nelson County residents and we're not getting tires from, a tire shop in Amherst or something of that nature. But I would definitely be supportive of this. And I mean, I can't, how much do we charge regular people to bring a tire to the?
it depends on the sizes, I think. I can't remember what those.
Size dependent, and it might be $3 and change.
Yeah,
That's
that
what we
sounds
pay at the
familiar.
shop.
That's
to get rid of.
correct,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really think this would help. It's worth it.
Mhm.
I think it could be worth it if we could figure out how to make sure this is a Nelson County thing.
Mhm.
That would be great.
We have to do it also, probably in June, once our tipping floor
Yeah.
project is done.
It's a great time to break it in.
Fair.
Kind of a ribbon cutting.
Tire cutting.
That's where you need the county sticker.
Burn a tire.
That's where the county.
That's where the county sticker comes into play.
But I do think that is worth exploring and get Jeff's thoughts. And strategy. And I mean, it's worth the county throwing 4
I
or 5
was-
grand at.
I
that.
was pleasantly surprised to see that was $1,800.
Well, that
Granted,
was-
it's 2017, but
It's
that
$3
was-
grand
Yeah, I was
today.
kinda shocked it wasn't more than that.
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
But I mean, I think if we just set aside 5, 6 grand, and I knew a guy who was down in the Albemarle side of Howardsville, and he paid people like $5 a tire for every tire they pulled out of the river, and you had to show up with the tires on a kayak, and it was remarkable how many tires and how successful that was, and I'm all about that, and I think, maybe there's something with the Bathtub Festival. Let's clean out our rivers. Let's bring.
I mean, it not only is beneficial to our residents, but it sends a good message.
Oh, yes. Tires are a hard thing to get rid of.
Yes.
What do you think
Yeah,
that
there
was?
are 4 just
What do you think
piled
that
up on the
was?
side of 151 in Piney River that I look at every time I pull out from that stop sign.
Yeah.
Would you like us to look at maybe sometime over the summer?
I think that's
I
very
think it'd be
reasonable,
great,
and
yeah.
this might be something we need to do once or twice a year. I
Or
mean,
once,
and
but,
then,
but
We
be
can start with
consistent.
yeah,
Okay,
I think Ivy Landfill did it once a year.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did.
it's interesting because some of these tires are making their way to Appomattox and they get shipped up for septic systems. So I don't know if there's a relationship there if we got a whole trailer and
That's where the shop,
yeah, the tire,
Shops
the
take-
manual tire
Yeah.
is down there in Appomattox.
yeah, I don't know if there's a deal we could cut there. I'm sure we have to pay them, but they turn into septic fields. Pretty cool.
Look at you
And
recycling.
mulch for playgrounds.
I believe that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, moving on, I did follow up with Mr. Brantley, on the rockfish reuse shed issues, and he said he's had no issues, reported to him, or that he needs to report about the reuse shed at Rockfish or at any of the other sites. So, he's the one that, gets those complaints and things, and follows up on any issues. Meals and lodging tax collection and entity tracking, provided the attached charts. Our number of lodging units went from 838 to 844. Our TO2 taxes collected fiscal year to date are $2,022,813, with 4 months remaining. So I have been a little bit conservative in our projections for the end of the year because it's looking like it could be, a little bit higher than what we budgeted, but just sort of being a little conservative and monitoring those. But we'll keep looking at them and see where they go by the end of the year. And you all received the department and office reports for February and March. And that is all I have. Happy to answer any other questions.
I had a couple of notes on the reports.
Okay?
The Commissioner of Revenue received some money from the unpaid meals tax from 7 Stars, but I think there was a big ticket outstanding from last month that we didn't really get an update on how much is still outstanding. That's something that is a good thing to monitor. The downside of the great report that 7 Stars gave us of the outcome from that. It's good to have it together. There was also mention in information systems about the short-term rental software and services. I'm just wondering, maybe get a little more information on how that's going and what's actually going to be monitored. It would just be good to have that information in front of me when people start asking me about short-term rentals. I can tell them what's on the table that we're going to be doing. And that's fine. That's good. Nothing else.
Any follow-up on that?
why is our court proceeds down? You said it was,
Yeah, it was all
Yeah.
70,000, wasn't
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
In your presentation,
Okay, right.
Ticketing.
Yeah, sorry.
it's okay.
You're talking
I'm
about
not
the court
saying
fines
it
and
correctly.
forfeitures from ticketing.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure.
because it was
why
my
it's-
hope that was going to creep up with our higher.
it? Deputy count.
It should with consistency. I think the winter months might have been hard with the weather. I think that kind of might have affected it a little bit.
Nice.
But I think we just overestimated it also.
Now,
for this.
is it
fiscal year.
true?
Or I did, I'll take that one.
Say there's a ticket written and someone comes and fights it and the judge negates it all. We don't get obviously there's no
Yeah, we
funds to
don't get
get,
court funds.
right?
Right.
Like if you have a judge that's not upholding
Right.
the
if-
tickets.
Yeah, if they don't impose any fines, then yeah, we won't. I don't know to what degree they do that.
Seems like a lot, but
I don't know.
Okay.
Anything else?
No more bags.
All right, good deal.
I had packed up my thing. I had packed up my thing. Okay, do we have any other business?
Board report.
Board reports.
Yeah.
Board reports.
All right, I'll make my report quick. Had a PDC meeting. Our building is getting renovated currently, so we met off-site. Very good meeting. Got to discuss the major power lines that are going across Louisa and Fluvanna. We had some administrative staff changes.
We talked about smart scale.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
the
right. We
rural
talked about
transportation planning.
Smart scale, we talked about that a whole bunch. I'll leave that for you, Ernie.
Okay,
On the
right.
PDC.
Yeah.
And then I had a meeting with Livingston Merchants Association. We have taken a poll on social media to pick a sign. Sign has been picked. I'm going to meet with Robert Brown to see feasibility of the location of the signs. Currently eyeballing 2 signs currently. And I will hopefully have a report for y'all in April/May on signs for Livingston. That's all I got. And we're gonna see each other tomorrow.
You all right?
I haven't had a meeting yet. Mine's coming up.
We have the 2x2s.
We
I
did have the
forgot
2x2s. Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Let's see here. We've told them that, it was a pretty good understanding from what we all talked about there. We did talk to them about, space needs. Seemed like they were pretty on board about like going into Ty River. Mm-hmm. Yep. That was cool.
I feel from the look on his face, he didn't feel the same.
Well, he may have talked me into going to the Nelson Center, but that's okay.
That ain't happening.
But they didn't
sounds like
they
a
didn't
good spot.
objectify
Yeah.
going into the middle. I mean, to the Ty River.
If I could elucidate on that just a little.
Go
bit.
ahead. You got your
Without
seat.
without
Hallucinate on that?
Yeah. Right. No, I suggested that if they could be a little more specific or even make recommendations of what might work for them, that it might be helpful for us than just knowing, square footage and how many people, because, this is an opportunity for them to do some strategic planning that maybe they ought to do in terms of what it is they really need and the best way to get it. So I suggested that to them, and they were as receptive to that as existing possible locations. So
And they were getting back on several of the budgets because they had several of their budget items. ERIP, Early Retirement Incentive
ERIP.
Program. They had those line items under substitute teachers. They had that under the superintendent. And they were going to ask why and get back to me. Yep. What
Might
else?
be I guess I can't say for sure, but it might be where, they might have put that ERIP money under the programs where people are serving under that, like a lot of retired teachers come back and substitute, and they get paid with those dollars. So it could be that.
Not under the superintendent, I wouldn't think.
Hey, that doesn't make sense to be on superintendent's side.
Well, no, because Tammy Punt. does
Oh,
her
under the
ERIP.
superintendent's, that's
Under
true.
superintendent's
Because it's not the
office.
superintendent's job, it's the superintendent's
Her
department.
office, Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably right.
It was
Tammy
under her
Ponton.
$187,000 line item.
That's probably what it is. It's Tammy Ponton using her ERIP
Yeah,
in that office.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's clear as mud. But yeah. That's it. Okay. Jesse and I had a 2x2 with Caesar and Shannon. We started off, we actually had questions in both of our group. We submitted 2 questions to them. They submitted 2, maybe more than 2. And we almost hit them all. But we did discuss the history of contention between the 2 boards, and they really just feel that meeting more often would make that better. Caesar feels that we need to negotiate more with the budgets. He would like more back and forth instead of they ask, we say, this is what you're getting, and that's what you get. I'm still softening to that idea because you're gonna want me to soften more to that. I did say that if the referendum thing could happen one day, that I would expect and hope for their support in politicking for
Sales tax.
the sales tax vote. And those 2 seemed supportive in doing that.
Yeah, we'd probably do a resolution.
They expressed concern in not having. I wish we had talked about this a little more because they kind of just threw it out there for a second. But sports for young kids. But I was feeling Parks and Rec had been doing better, so I'm not sure where that animosity and upsetness came from. And we talked a small bit about budget, but she did give me the print off. But you've got one too now, so which I haven't waded my way through there with my magnifying glass. Planning Commission was the same evening.
Oh, yeah.
We saw we actually only ended up voting on 2 things, which we will see in April. Planning Commission had a consensus that the mapping during the zoning rewrite was a good idea. But that and we have our new president or chair, sorry, is Gary Scott. And that's really all that happened at Planning Commission.
Yeah. I'm trying to think in relation to the 2x2s, we did have a pretty good discussion about acknowledging that the state's going to continue to give us less money and the student population is going to continue to shrink. And what does that mean from a monetary basis? We didn't get much more past that other than we just need to recognize this is the trajectory and has been the trajectory since the early 2000s. But I think that was just one thing I wanted to add to that in the 2x2.
I didn't want to talk too much about the budget because I didn't want to feel like I was speaking for the whole board. I did feel that we had a consensus on the buses.
Yeah.
And that the 600K would go to buses. Of course, you know Jesse, he threw out some numbers.
Of course.
But I tried to emphasize that that was his opinion and probably his opinion only.
I said that's true.
So,
I agree.
all right, I think that's all I have to talk about.
Okay. One more thing about the 2x2 was that, Cameron and Stacy and Joe Kennedy are all new to these things. So, it was left to me to try to give the history of like how we got into where they were. So we ended up talking about things like the Larkin property and things that you all probably, didn't have to touch on. Jesse and I also had a 2x2 with Dylan and Cody talking about the ordinances and such. So that was pretty productive. And also the Front Street public hearing happened right after our last meeting.
So much government stuff
I
in the
know.
last month.
You've forgotten.
I've forgotten.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But
We had a really good, strong debate in there. It was, there's some interesting topics. I'm not even gonna go into it. Have y'all done them yet? Are y'all doing your own? What are they doing?
What are
Are
you
y'all-
talking about?
The 2x2 with the planning commissioners and board of supervisors, or was that targeted to just us?
I didn't know that was happening.
This
I
job.
was asked.
I think you were
and it
in,
was not a
I
good
think
day.
someone put you in, remediation.
Apparently.
Intervention.
Anyway, let me just jump in here. The other thing we talked at the TJPDC, we talked about two other things that were kind of significant. One was smart scale, because TJPDC kind of coordinates and set the zone that gave us a better break in terms of getting money for smart scale, which is really good. They're the ones that kind of provide the planning and the funding that goes along with that, and the support for that. Also, there's a tiny bit of financial reorganizing for the TJPDC Corporation, which is and I'm the chair of it, which is the nonprofit arm of the TJPDC, which provides pass-through money for organizations that don't have their own 501c3s. It can be submitted on behalf of TJPDC, and the money can go to them.
And we as a county can use that as well.
It was used by Here to Stay Wintergreen
Yeah.
to get started. The TJPDC Corporation worked with them with their initial grants that happened. So when someone is interested in doing something that has a goal of getting nonprofit status but doesn't have it and serves the county, TJPDC has a pretty important function that it can do. So just because I know, Cameron,
Yeah, I don't know.
you're learning about all this stuff, so I'm trying to help you a little bit. And let's see, what other happened? I was at the DEQ meeting with Candy in Harrisonburg. I just want to flag that Candy put together a really stellar information line on everything that's happened so far. I thought that was really good, and I was a little dismayed at the public comments that were made earlier that had contrary information about what a lot of those things were. I just wanted to flag that. And that's all my report.
So, Emergency Services Council, the main thing that came out of this last meeting was a request for us to, if we're committed to the equipment replacement schedule, the 80-20 schedule, that we step up our approval process, because the way it works now is by the time a truck gets to us for approval, they're already about 2 years into the process, because where they have to request, they have to start building the truck and getting everything done. And so their request of us is it will help them plan better if we can do our approvals based on their ordering schedule, not based on pretty much the delivery schedule, because it's a 2 year difference, and it would help them better understand. And they say that they could get a better price if we can lock in sooner, and they know what they're able to do. So staff, is that something that, how do we go about working our schedule to match their order?
I mean, I think
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Put a deposit down?
Yeah, do you have to put a deposit down when they make the initial?
I'm pretty
order?
sure,
They do.
yeah.
And that might lock you in, because at Rockfish Fire Department, like, it's going up like $100,000, time it's time to order,
Right.
200 grand.
Exactly,
And we're already at million and a
Yeah.
half for a fire truck now, so
yes.
Yeah,
these things are
Um,
fluctuating crazy.
I think there just need to be better coordination between, getting the recommendation from the council for the order and bringing it to you all to commit to.
So basically, they're looking for, just not approval, but confirmation that we're committed to that program as a county. Because I'll tell you, I had a firefighter who was just at my house on another issue, not Piney River person, somebody else. And he's like, is it true that I heard at the firehouse the other day that the county's doing away with the program? And I'm like, no,
80-20.
that's not true. Yes.
Where
I
did
said,
that
"No."
even come from?
That's what I asked. And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you that. But I'm like, well, you go back right now and tell whoever that person is that that's not true. We're not doing away with that program.
Well, I have had
Here it goes.
No, I mean, I've had a conversation with, just Curtis Sheets, just generally about the program, and he indicated he thought at some point they, that agencies would be pretty caught up on replacing old equipment, and that there could be a break in sight. So I don't know, I was gonna
Well-
ask you if that had been discussed at all at the council.
No, but the person that was doing some work at my house is a wintergreen
Wow.
firefighter, and that's where so the way the story got back is the county's, at least that's the way he presented it to me, was he heard, that's what he thought he heard, or he heard, I don't know, but that we were doing away with that program, and I'm like, no, that's not true.
I mean, I think in that conversation, if I'm recalling correctly, I mean, he thought it would be a couple years away at least.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get, Danny or one of his, somebody that he appoints to reach out maybe. I don't know whether would that be a better conversation for you or for Candy, or who should I direct them to?
Is it a logistics thing then?
Just
or
of how to get us and then.
To get locked in.
Get them on a schedule and make sure, what's the best way to accomplish that?
Probably participate in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'll have that conversation with
Yeah.
Danny and,
I mean, but these, especially fire apparatus and trucks, as you have seen, are very expensive.
Yeah, I
and-
mean, we're getting to the now, it used to be where, 250, 300, you can get a truck. Now they're over $1 million, pretty
Yeah.
much.
So, it's just something to consider for the long term, like, can we sustain the 80-20?
And that's a conversation for,
And how to do that.
Right.
or-
but as long as we are still committed to that program,
Right,
we need to coordinate so we can take advantage of the window.
right,
So, okay,
yeah.
So Rockfish is gonna do a re-chassing
yes,
of engine 50. And since we're not putting a pumper unit on the back, I wanna know if the county would entertain as far as doing 100% on the chassis part of it, because it's a ton of money knocked off of it. And if we can do something like that, where do 100% of the chassis, maybe that would help offset some of this 80-20, as far as like, we're gonna do 80-20 on a brand new unit, and then in 5-6 years, wherever the case is, you do a re-chassis, we'll pay 100% of that chassis. And then do a 80-20 on the next new one. It's food for thought.
conversation worth
Yeah.
having, but I do know that historically, the person who used to sit in that seat was adamant that the purpose of this program was to replace old equipment with new and not replace old with old, and
That's right.
he was very firm on had very strong feelings
This
on
is
that.
this is from our fire chief wanting to do a
Yeah, I was,
cab and chassis swap.
yeah,
What's the story on the oxygen?
mm.
Well, so
It's something that has happened, I don't know
Well,
exactly
so
what it is, but I know they have to pay now.
my oxygen suppliers was the same. Then it was bought out by some corporate German Lind or whatever, and the prices went up double 2 years in a row. So my office has bought all oxygen concentrator now. We don't even
you
use
go.
tanked oxygen, and I'm not surprised that that this corporate company doesn't give a crap about small town America. The funny thing is the brother of the guy that sold out still has an oxygen company. Well, I mean, tank company in Waynesboro,
Robert's Oxford.
Yeah.
Roberts.
and they might want to shop around because
Yeah,
the brother's still going.
Is
You know what I
Oxford
mean?
the
And
same everywhere you
may
go?
Huh,
because it's insane.
yeah,
Corporate America,
I've
baby.
been asked before.
yeah, cause I think they could get it at UVA. Isn't that what they were doing before? They were getting it?
No,
Augusta.
was it
Robert-
Wayne or Robert?
It's
Can't remember
Robert's,
which
I
one.
think.
So Wayne was our supplier, and he'd come by the office, and then he'd go by EMS and drop tanks off. And it brings me joy that he was doing it for $0.
Hmm.
But when the corporate entity took over,
Yeah.
but the brother who does the same business hasn't sold out. Just a thought. Anyway.
Do we have a
Pay
Directives.
for oxygen. Any directives?
Appointments?
appointments?
I have a directive. It's
So before we get to that, we have appointments. Madam
No
Chair?
directives.
No, they're not. Madam Chair, I move that we approve the applicant for Board of Zoning Appeals and James River Alcohol Safety Action Program as presented.
Oh, nice.
Okay, yeah, Jim, yeah. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Very good.
good job.
Board of
Go team.
Equalization.
Board of Equalization
Correspondence.
Wait,
correspondence.
don't we have Board of Zoning Appeals?
Yeah, we have BZA.
I thought we only had, we just
Did you do both
approved,
of them?
Yeah.
I thought you
Both
just
of
did
them.
Jim.
Okay,
appointments are done.
directives.
Yeah, very quick.
Directives come after she's doing her correspondence with the Board of Equalization. Y'all stay with the program, man. Give me that gavel.
Jessica, use the hammer.
Things are getting wild.
Okay, well, we have here some correspondence from the Board of Equalization, basically requesting, a restructuring of the compensation package. They right now are compensated at $75 per day, and this has been the case, since 2005. And what they are requesting is $200 per day going forward and retroactively from their first meeting, March 2nd. Put together some numbers for you in terms of our salary and what their advertised schedule is, and what the maximum additional monies that would be needed in the budget to accommodate the $200 request. And that would be $5,920.50. Mind you, this Board of Equalization only happens every 4 years. If you wanted to do lesser amounts, I've given you numbers for $175 a day, $150 a day, and $100 a day.
How long are these days?
Well, I think the schedule, I think, is maybe 4-hour blocks. I don't think they're 4 to 6 hour blocks.
Yeah.
I don't have the schedule right in front of me.
It needs to be at least $100 a day,
Yeah, it's 25% raise.
like that.
So just to make a note too, Amherst County, has a reassessment this year, also the Board of Equalization, they're compensating $200 a day.
Oh,
So that was the only other locality I checked with on that.
you said that was which county, Amherst?
Amherst.
Yeah, 200 a day.
And to put it in perspective, our school board makes $150 a month.
Right.
Just putting it in perspective.
After insurance comes out, I make $9.23.
I pay.
Then I gotta bring my $577 check.
Yeah.
Shoot, what's this stuff? Well, I do think raising the rate would definitely help to attract members when we need them. We only got 3 members, that's the minimum you can have, you need 3 to 5. And we've had the same 3 folks doing it the last couple of rounds, thankfully, and they're very good at it and very, very diligent about it. So I do think a raise would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I think 150 makes sense.
150.
I'm on board with that.
All right, I make a motion for $150 a day.
Second.
We do have a resolution we
Oh,
can use.
of course. Where?
You
Uh,
packed it
Full
up
of 'em
already.
today.
I put my packet up.
We'll call it R 2026-20, please.
Yeah, we can have a number on it.
Madam Chair, I move we
Here it
approve
is.
R 2026-20
Second.
for $150 a day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We left that blank. Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Ernie, it's directive.
Quick directive. I know we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to make sure that when we get together and talk budget tomorrow, that or the next time, whenever that is, that we cover the range of possibilities for more aggressive tax relief than we have right now. I don't know what we can do that we aren't doing already, but if there are any options that we have, it would just be good to know. That's
More aggressive
So,
tax.
Yeah.
Do you have examples?
No, well, we already have land use, we have veterans, that get tax relief.
Elderly and disabled.
Yeah, right. But I don't know if there's any other possible things that we can do. If that's more, if it's something that we can make up on our own, we probably, I don't know if we need to have a long discussion on it, but I was just wondering because, you know, one of the problems with tax rates is a low tax rate is fine for people that don't have a lot of resources. For people that have lots of resources, it's proportionally a bargain to be in Nelson County. So I'm trying to think about how we can do something that is a little bit Robin Hood and a little bit community support.
Yeah, so I'm gonna check on that.
Thanks.
Like no more real estate tax after you've owned it for 30 years or something.
I'll second that.
I want all my taxes back. Give my family
One
all.
thing I'd like to see is transparency on our website as far as all of these budgets for like a last 5-year period and continuing on, right? If somebody wants to look up and see what Commonwealth Attorney's budget is, or the sheriff's budget, or whose ever budget, they can pull it up and look at it and see where it's transparent, to see year over year where the increases are, right? How hard,
Posted going back sometime. Yeah, we have to clear them off after
where are they at?
on the finance page, there's a budget tab, and I post all the budget things, and it goes that. And all the audits are posted.
I can go back and look, cause I couldn't find it.
We can send you the link page. And each report does include a look back a few fiscal years.
It was like, CIPs and so forth, have those on there too.
Yeah, that's
The-
how I post everything.
There's some localities that have every check written, like the ledger is on the website.
That's
I'd love
pretty
to go there
transparent,
one day.
right? I mean, I know it's a little bit extra work there, but I think people are entitled to know where their tax money goes.
I don't disagree.
Okay. I'll do a little bit more homework.
I have no directives, let's go.
Alright, Jerry.
Oh, I did want to say hey to Ben Golden. That's it.
Oh.
Okay. A motion to adjourn?
Motion we
And
adjourn.
Continue?
Continue
And
to
continue till tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Second.
Okay.
Golly, we might as
All
well
those
just
in
stay.
favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
We're spending the night.
That's nice.
Nope.
Second.
Jesse, you was second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright.